Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today in Berlin. 15 years ago, I started this project only as a hobby, driven by the gut feeling of a problem. There were too many centralized cloud services in the world. We really need to have an alternative. Something that's open source, that's self-hosted, that's really secure, has high performance, and has a really great user experience. The goal was and still is to give user control over their data without any compromises. Along the way, the geopolitical situation changed, of course, and the mission of Nextcloud became even more important, but our values never changed.
We believe privacy is a fundamental human right, and everybody should have access to secure communication free from surveillance.
We are building decentralized products as an alternative to centralized platforms. People can choose what they want and where they want it.
We believe in open source and open standards. Open source is the only way for users to trust their devices.
We value sustainability, protecting people, society, and the environment.
We believe accessibility is a fundamental human right, and technology should be accessible to everyone.
The time of our users is very important to us. That's why we do our best to make Nextcloud easy to use.
We foster diversity, from innovation to transparency and collaboration. Working with our community and supporting marginalized people leads to a better result.
Nextcloud is a collaboration platform where you can work with others while staying in control of your data. It's open source, flexible and scalable from small teams to big organizations. Easy to deploy, easy to use, privacy first by design. We built Nextcloud fully open source and community driven. Thousands of contributors from all over the world are shaping its future. Security, privacy and user control are baked into every release. It started only as a hobby. Over time we became the most deployed collaboration platform in the world. Today tens of millions of people are using Nextcloud worldwide. Today we are really excited to introduce Nextcloud Hub 25 Autumn. This is our digital workspace. Easy and fast deployment, easy migration, no barrier adoption and no vendor login. We changed the name, but we still have the same commitment: control, privacy and flexibility. Our focus is now to make this even easier to get started and build your own private digital workspace. Here are the focus areas of this release: global redesign and usability fit, a refreshed experience. The interface is improved to make your work smoother and more intuitive to use. New Office user interface, a new workspace style. Office tools now have a clear, consistent layout that just works. Performance and stability boost. Everything runs quicker without interruptions, including Office. Better collaboration. Working together feels simpler, more connected and more productive. New AI agency tools, AI that just helps. New tools are ready to handle routine tasks and saves you time. Now let's talk about good work culture. I always find it super interesting how software influences our lives and work. If it creates fun and a good work culture, or if it creates stress. Some competitors do surveillance of employees in their software. How fast you're writing your emails, how fast you're doing documents, how fast you're typing. I think this creates a lot of tension in the workspace. At Nextcloud we foster a good, healthy, fun, productive company culture with our software. We are a company with employees in 24 countries, so we learned a lot how it should be done and we put all of that into Nextcloud. For example, if you share a file with someone or assign a task or send a chat message, you will always see the time zone of the other person, so you know if the person is mobile in front of the computer or away. We also show you a warning if the person is on vacation, so you really have the right expectations when you get an answer or not. We also know the problem with too many endless video calls. So we show you a warning if a call is running for more than 1 hour, so you know it's probably time to wrap it up. We also know the situation that in some calls, some people talk too much and other people don't talk at all. So we show you in Nextcloud Talk the speaking time, so you can really adjust that everybody has a chance to be part of a conversation. Then maybe you have the situation that you want to send someone an important message via chat, but you don't want to interrupt the person. So we have the features to send a silent chat message, so the person then sees the message but doesn't get an immediate notification. Then we also have the problem that we sometimes got notifications and we are interrupted and you don't always have the time to look into it immediately. So you can say, hey, remind me about this notification again later, maybe in 1 hour or maybe tomorrow. So these are just some examples how Nextcloud fosters a healthy and productive work culture. In this video, our team, partners and customers will show you how easy it is to move away from big tech solutions, regain control of your data while benefiting from a modern integrated collaboration platform. Now I will hand over to our team to work you through all the cool new updates.
Thank you, Frank. So, as Frank just said, Nextcloud is a collaboration platform. It's a digital workplace designed to help you and your team get work done. Now, during a workday, of course, you are using different tools. Say you're working on a document. You first need to find it or create it, which you can do with Nextcloud Files. And then you can edit the document, work on it alone or with others, because you can, of course, very easily share the file, maybe directly with Nextcloud Files, or you share the file into a chat room so that your colleagues can look at the file, discuss it with you during a call perhaps, or give you comments in the chat. You can create a meeting there, so you can have a discussion, add the file maybe even to the calendar invitation, and from there all of your colleagues will get a nice invitation in their email inbox, which they can then read the Nextcloud Mail. Of course, leveling it up, you can go and talk to the Nextcloud Assistant. You can say, hey, create me a nice slide deck from the meeting notes, for example, after the meeting that you had. Or you can need to create a couple of nice graphs, get some presentation data together and ask it to create a nice spreadsheet for you. So all these parts can also be automated. You can connect this to Nextcloud Flow, where you can say, okay, let's automate. Now we have this spreadsheet. Let's automate the payment system together with a payment provider that can be external. So all these pieces, they come together. They're closely integrated. They're built on a shared base, and they help you be productive on your own private cloud. That is what Nextcloud is about. Of course, Nextcloud is also about being in control. And you stay 100% in control because it's 100% open source. And more than that, it's not just open source, but it's developed in the open by a large community of contributors that all work together to make the best collaboration platform possible. Now this means, after all these years, Nextcloud has grown to be the largest open source, self-hosted collaboration platform community in the world. There is no bigger user base for this kind of technology anywhere. And that means when you are using Nextcloud Hub, you are avoiding vendor lock-in completely. It's the right choice for you. Now, while an integrated digital workplace has a ton of benefits, you are of course not working in a vacuum. In your organization, you have existing tools and apps that your people are used to. Now, Nextcloud Hub is designed to fit seamlessly in any environment. Basically, it allows you to build your own collaboration platform to your specific needs. Now, what I'm saying is you can use all the parts of Nextcloud Hub that I showed you, or you can swap them out. And Nextcloud Hub is designed to be flexible. So you can choose the functionality you need, and each of the apps can be used standalone. You can just have file sharing, you can just have video chat, or you can replace maybe a SaaS survey solution with your own hosted on-premise solution using Nextcloud Forms. You can swap out an app with another solution if you want. And together with our partners, we bring even more capabilities to Nextcloud, like advanced project management with Open Project or an advanced wiki with XWiki. Now, a second benefit of the flexibility, Nextcloud Hub integrates in your infrastructure. You can use Nextcloud Hub to unlock storage silos in your company. For example, you have a Windows network drive, maybe you have a SharePoint, you have an FTP drive. You can all connect these into Nextcloud and make them available to your team. Of course, you can do the same with your existing user directory, different authentication mechanisms. They can all connect to Nextcloud. We even have integration with Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Teams, for example. The third level of flexibility that Nextcloud offers is integration with other applications you have. So you can get notifications from a ticketing system directly in Nextcloud Dashboard. You can list calls and start them for WebEx directly from Nextcloud, or you can access your documents in Nextcloud Hub from within Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of these integrations. So why would you pick Nextcloud Hub as an integrated solution over using multiple separate applications? I want to give you 3 reasons why you should pick one solution instead of separate ones. First, it gives you a better user experience. Second, it's easier to run and easier to maintain. And third, it's more secure and is more sustainable, less risk for you. Let me illustrate these 3 benefits with a couple of examples. So first, the user experience boost. It helps your productivity. For example, take the process of setting up a call with other people. When you create a calendar invite, you can add a talk meeting with just one click. All the participants will be added to the talk room. They can already chat and discuss things in advance. They can maybe let you know like, hey, I can't make it to the meeting tomorrow, etc. That's all done in one click. Or if you're working on a file, you want to attach it to a task that you're working on. Maybe you want to assign it to somebody. You can just in Files, go to the Share dialog, choose the task you want to add it to, and in a few clicks, the file is attached there. Now, the nice thing is that even if a file has been attached to a deck card, and you have it shared in Files, and maybe you shared it in a chat room as well, it's all still the same file. So if somebody opens it from the chat room, another person opens it from the task, and another person opens it from the share you gave them, they will all be editing the very same document collaboratively. So keeping it all in one place. Now, here's perhaps my favorite example. You go on vacation for a few weeks, and you have to make sure everybody knows about it, right? So you put a blocker in your calendar, you configure the out of office in Slack, you set it in Mail, of course, that people get an auto reply, and then your project manager still assigns you tasks because they didn't know you're on vacation. Now, in Nextcloud, you have to set your out of office only once, and then this gets reflected in all applications. So you set it, pick dates, you choose who is your replacement, and of course you put in a nice description of where you're going to make your colleagues jealous. Now, Talk will then show when somebody tries to chat with you, well, that you're unavailable and where you are. And the same with Mail, you get an email, there will be an auto reply. The calendar has a blocker, and in Deck and in Files, people can see in your status that you're on vacation. So everywhere, this is reflected in one setting, in one place. No need to go through all the different apps. And then, of course, maybe forget to unvacation yourself in Slack, for example. So we even added a new integration in this area for this release. So you can create a calendar meeting, as I said, and then add a talk room. We can also do the opposite. Within Talk, if you're in a room with a bunch of people discussing stuff, you can set a meeting there. Just one click, pick a date. Everybody in the room will get an invitation, and you have a meeting set up for the next week. So it's super easy. And these integrations really help you day to day be more productive. You don't need to juggle multiple tools. You don't need to be looking for the last version of a document. So it's a real benefit to your productivity of your team that you have one nicely integrated collaboration platform. Now, the second benefit of using a single platform is in the operation space. So it's simple, right? You deploy one solution instead of 5. That's just less work. And it's not just that your sysadmin team needs to get familiar with only one technology instead of Files, and you need to test only one technology stack, but also your employees, of course, need to learn one place where they can find their settings, one place, one way of working. And in support, having 5 vendors blaming each other when something goes wrong can be a real nightmare. If you have one vendor, that makes it a lot simpler. And of course, you only have one maintenance window to deal with as well. So the result of all of this is that with Nextcloud Hub, having an integrated solution means lower operational costs and less risk when you're rolling it out and when you're using it. Now, this also plays in the security space and the long-term stability of your platform as well. So again, having less systems means the attack surface is simply smaller. There are less systems that can be breached, less potential security problems, but also less compliance checks. You have less systems you need to check for compliance, and you avoid data process agreements that need to be signed. There's also vendor due diligence. You need to keep an eye on multiple vendors. At the beginning, you need to check if a vendor isn't open core, might suddenly add an important feature in the proprietary version only. Whoops. These kind of mistakes can happen, and you need to check that in advance. But it's also an ongoing process. So especially if you're in a regulated industry, you need proper third-party risk management to make sure that over time your vendor isn't having financial issues or is, firing half their security team. These kind of problems you need to keep an eye on, and they can be a lot of work. So once again, the benefit of an integrated solution means that you lower your cost and you reduce the risk. That's the benefit. Now, that is how Nextcloud is a flexible, easy to integrate platform that you can use to build your own integrated digital workspace. And today, we're announcing improvements all over Nextcloud Hub. But before we talk about the applications, we want to talk about the core of Nextcloud Hub, where it all starts. As Frank said at the beginning, for this release, our goal is to make it as easy as possible to start using Nextcloud. And to talk about that, we have Jan and Kim.
So now let's dive into the new design of Nextcloud Hub. I'm sitting here with our design lead, Jan. Thanks for joining me. And maybe let's start with a look at the bigger picture. So how did you approach the look and feel of this release?
Yeah, so in the last few releases, Nextcloud used like a very very flat, very simple look. We did some changes to the rounding. So in the last release, we made it a little bit more compact. We reduced the rounding, made it look a bit more professional and everything. And this release is very much an evolution and a continuation of that, where we make it look even more professional. We make it a little bit more, everything a little bit more approachable, everything a little bit, or much more professional, I would even say, and much more polished, in fact.
Mhm. So if you say we have a new polished design, when it comes to specific interface elements, what kinds of changes did you focus on?
Yeah, so the most obvious one I would say is the icons, where we changed from the filled icons to the outline icons, which are much more light, much more modern, fitting to the Nextcloud logo, for example, and it also gives us opportunity to denote active state, like for example for favorite files or for prioritized emails. And then two other things which are very connected are the buttons and the input fields. So the buttons are more elevated to make them more approachable, more clickable, and the input fields, on the other hand, are a little bit more inset. It's also to make them more clickable, and so everything sort of feels a little bit more familiar, more modern, and more approachable.
Mhm. And I have seen there are some improvements in the settings and navigation as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the settings ones, that's a little bit more of a sneak preview because it will come in the first maintenance releases. But we've done a lot there to improve the design, improve the UI, and organize it more. It looks much more in order. It looks much more organized, and you can way easier find the setting that you're actually looking for if you need to change anything. Looks much more professional, much more organized. And in the navigation, the main app navigation, we gave the app icons a slight little fade to also make them a little bit more physical, a little bit more clickable. And also, it just looks really great with our new background picture.
The new background I have seen already. What inspired the design here?
The new background was done by Joel from the marketing team, and I really think it's cool that it's very active, very very colorful, very very splashy, very welcoming, and it really gives you space for your things sort of, and it's really nice little first look at Nextcloud. But what is, of course, also important is that in Nextcloud you can customize it. So you can either pick from a pre-selected selection of backgrounds, or you can fully pick your own background, and you can upload any sort of picture, and we automatically extract like a primary color from it to make everything look nice. So it's much at home and familiar for you.
Yeah, indeed, very welcoming, I would say. Can you maybe walk me through the updates that make it easier for people to get started?
Yeah, the first thing that people will see is the about and what's new dialogue, and that is now translated. So people will be welcomed in their own language, and a big thanks for that goes out to our community of translators, which is super lovely. So now people are welcomed even in their own language. And then another example is in the text app, where we have this new suggestion bar, where, for example, it gives you some pointers on how you could start out or what you could add. For example, linking a file, adding a table, or using the smart picker. And the cool thing is that this is, of course, also available elsewhere where the text app is used. So like in the Collectives app or in rich documents in files. And another part where we improve the empty content views is the Talk app and the Mail app, where we organize them a little bit nicer. We're showing a bit more what is possible, for example, in the Talk app. And also we're using design elements from the background in there as well. So that is all a bit coherent. It's very welcoming. It's very active, and it shows you a little bit what you can do. And there's so many other things. Like for example, we did a lot on like new example content and template and so on. It's a lot new things.
Now, you briefly mentioned the templates. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. there are 12 new templates, I think, and 6 Polish ones, if my count is correct. So the presentation templates, we doubled or more than doubled the amount of templates that you will have. The document templates, we went from 7 to 11 and polished some existing ones, and for spreadsheets as well. Like we added some new ones and polished all the existing ones. So you have a lot more content to actually start out with and to just create documents and get started.
Mhm. But not only the templates, but also the Office apps themselves got an update, right? What can we look forward to here?
Yeah, there's a lot that got changed, that got adjusted in the interface and everywhere. And I will touch on a few very visible things. One is the icons, where I also mentioned the icons in Nextcloud generally before. The outline icons, of course, in Office, we moved also to the outline icons, and that is a very fitting modern look. And another thing that is also improved is previously the Office apps all had the same coloring. So we used primary color for all of them. And now we moved to sort of the industry standard of like using blue for the documents, which is basically unchanged, but also using orange for presentations and green for spreadsheets. So it's very much like familiar, and you see like where you are.
Okay, so one last but very important point, I guess, is AI. And I have seen that the Nextcloud Assistant also got a design update. What's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so Assistant got a bunch of design improvements, I would say, in layout and everything. And I would just like to pinpoint one specific improvement, which is maybe a rather small one, but I think it's an important one, and that is in the coloring, where previously also similar to Office, we used the primary color, so it would be just blue, or your theming color essentially. Now we went specific to a specific color for the Assistant, which is like this little blue purplish color, and that is for two different reasons. One is for if you're excited about AI and you want to benefit from it, you want to use it, you want to see where it's used and make use of it. You can very easily identify it. But on the other hand, also, if you're doubtful about AI, if you really want to know when something was generated by AI, then it's also there, to inform you about it, and we think that is very important. And even more importantly, you can of course configure all of that. So you can host your own open source self-hosted AI, or you can also fully disable it. So it's very important to us that you can all configure this completely, and you can also turn it off if you like.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for sharing all those insights with us, Jan. Very insightful.
Thank you.
And another important aspect for user experience is the performance. And for that topic, I would like to hand over to Nina and Jos and back to the stage.
So, welcome back, Nina. So we've talked now about a lot of design improvements. Well, Jan and Kim did, and there's more screenshots, especially of this to come. But most of the work in the release is actually under the hood, and that's where we work on things that move the technology of Nextcloud Hub further. Now, we want to talk about these for a bit before we move to the features.
Right. So first, performance. Nobody likes to wait for their computing device, right, Jos?
Exactly. Faster is always better, and that's not only the case for users, but given the growing power use, resource use of data centers, this also has an impact on our environment.
So let's jump right in and tackle a few of those changes that we made to make Nextcloud faster.
Yeah. So with the last release, we introduced chunked upload in files. So there we upload a file in smaller pieces for speeding up the transfer speed as well as improving the resilience of these uploads.
But now you can also use this for public link share so that friends can upload big videos to your folder faster and more reliable.
And you can even upload whole folders, including all the files, in a public share link.
You will also notice that both Android and iOS are much faster. The iOS rewrite probably has the biggest impact with fully reworked background processes that can reduce upload times by half and makes the application feel a lot smoother. I'm currently using the test version and it is really nice, I must admit.
Yeah, it is really nice. The improved reliability is also shown in the numbers. Like the number of crashes on iOS is down under 0.05%, which is among the better, performers on iOS. And you're going to hear more about the new version later from Kim.
But our biggest performance improvement is in the desktop client on macOS. The setup of virtual files is now instant, even if you have a lot of files and folders. We achieved this through loading all files and folders on demand.
Yeah, another improvement we did is when you navigate through your folders, we now check for changes in the folders in parallel with any syncing that has to happen. That makes sure that you see the latest files always without any delay.
And syncing files in the background is massively reduced as we only check files and folders that you have used. This helps your battery life a lot.
So, Windows users will also appreciate a 30% faster initial sync and a new option to keep files or a folder locally available.
Now we look forward to hearing what you think of the virtual files feature. Some improvements have an impact all over the place.
Right, yeah. So for example, we made a number of changes to the handling of apps that reduce the database load on our own company server by 10%. And on top of that, another 5% if you're using LDAP. So that makes a nice 15% decrease in database queries.
There were, of course, many more changes that sped up applications like Mail, the Calendar, or Nextcloud Text.
Yeah, that smarter activity handling came from a meeting in Berlin to work on performance.
I remember that, a very busy week in the office, especially for us usually working fully remotely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had shown Robin, one of the team members, like that the sharing feature was really slow, and then he changed that function. So before it used 150,000 queries. When it was done, it was down to 150.
That's almost 1,000 times less, Jos. So those performance meetings do make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hope users will enjoy a snappier Nextcloud Hub when they update.
Now let's move to our next subject, which is very important, security.
Yeah, security is really important because privacy doesn't work without security.
With every release, we adapt new security technologies and compliance regulations that are entering the market.
Yeah, so users might remember that in the last release, we added a web interface to our end-to-end encryption feature.
This is one of the three main encryption technologies Nextcloud can use to secure your files. TLS for transport, and we have also server-side encryption for data at rest.
Yeah, and so the end-to-end encryption, the ends here are the clients. So files will be encrypted by your desktop client, for example, on your desktop or laptop, or by the mobile apps on your phone, and the server will never be able to see their content.
In the last release, we introduced the read-only web interface for the end-to-end encryption. You have to enter your local password and navigate past the warning, but it's always better to use only this when really needed, as browsers are never as secure as the local client, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this release, we made it possible to view text files in an encrypted folder, so that makes the end-to-end encryption just a little bit more convenient to use from the browser.
There's a second feature we improved, Secure View. This allows you to share a document with watermarks. You could combine this with hide download so users can view and even edit it, but not download the file.
Yeah, so hide download is also available for other file types that are not supported by, well, Nextcloud Office. And so you can turn on the hide download in the interface, but if you preview files like PDF or images, it would not be very hard for a very technical user to actually circumvent the protection and get at the original files. Now, some cases just make it harder to download the file is good enough. There are definitely cases where you need real security and that it is as impossible as feasible to get at the files. So we worked on this and basically took the two features apart. So from now on, Secure View always means files can be downloaded, period. So we connected these two features with, no downloading.
Yeah, and you can share your documents with watermarks and all, safe from leaking.
Exactly. So, but second, we still have this separate hide download feature. And there the administrator can now choose the behavior. So just hide the download so that previews are still possible. You can still view a PDF or an image, or actually make it impossible to get at the file itself.
So it is possible now, for example, to share a folder where the recipients can see what documents are in there, even move and rename them, but they cannot view or even download them.
Yeah, of course, there are many other security improvements throughout this release, but it's going to be a long list, so...
Yeah, but before we move over to features in this release, let's talk about where our most efforts actually go.
Right. So last time we showed you that only about 10% of the changes that go into release actually are related to features. The rest of these are maintenance.
With this release, the numbers look pretty similar. For example, Files had about 3,000 pull requests, of which almost more than 200 were feature related, and for Mail it was 625 and 45. Across a number of repositories we looked at, only about 6% were related to features.
Yeah, so of course those are numbers, which, what does it mean for you as a user, right? So I asked the calendar team, the groupware team, if they could share some examples of these maintenance changes. And so they gave me a list, which, I put on the slide, but honestly, I can't make cheese out of this.
Cheese, Jos? Why cheese?
That's Dutch saying, like, basically, I guess my fellow countrymen believe that only things you can make cheese of are worth understanding, you know.
Interesting saying whatsoever, but we can be a little more concrete with this. So some of these are fixing issues users reported about syncing their calendars. And if you look at an entire project, like the App Store, for example, the team managed to get the issue list down by half. So similar for the approval app and the assistant. So all of that is fixing lots of little issues which result in one big cleanup.
Okay, so it still makes a big difference altogether. Still, I want to urge our users, please keep telling us what problems you bump into.
Yes, that helps us a lot. On that note, we did a lot of things to make it easier for administrators to run a Nextcloud instance and diagnose problems. More on that later in the administrator section.
Yeah, but first, quick recap. So we talked about the maintenance work that goes into Nextcloud.
Indeed, the 90% of the work that for not so technical users sounds rather boring.
Yeah, it's not unimportant, but it doesn't make nice pictures. And that same goes for all the work that we've done to move the core technology of Nextcloud forward. We will talk more about this later in the developer section without screenshots. But of course, everybody benefits from a stronger foundation, so it is still very important.
Absolutely, yeah. So performance and security obviously cut across the entire Nextcloud Hub. But the same goes for Nextcloud Teams.
Yeah, so Nextcloud Teams allows people to organize themselves into custom groups. As say you've been asked to spearhead a project to make the office more energy efficient. So once you've agreed to the goals, you gather a few people from the different departments and you create a nice team in Nextcloud.
You can share any kind of resource in Nextcloud with the team. You probably want a chat room to discuss the ideas, a deck board to track the progress, maybe an agenda, a table to track assets, and a folder for files.
Yeah, so Teams makes it easy to track all these related resources without taking away any flexibility.
Teams becomes more important when working on tasks across larger organizations. That is why we made a lot of improvements here. Teams 2 has a new front-end design. When you join a team, it is very easy to see shared resources and other team members. As an owner, you can change the settings and manage team members.
So we also introduced a new dashboard widget, which you can quickly use to give you an overview of the developments in the different teams that you're active in.
The final improvement we want to mention is that we made the guest account creation easier. You can now create guest accounts directly from Teams with a new dialog.
We can't wait to hear how the new Teams 2 makes your collaboration more efficient. Let us know. Now, I'd like to invite Kim to the stage to tell us what is new in Nextcloud Files.
Thank you, Jos. So let's begin with Nextcloud Files. Nextcloud Files is the home for your documents, photos, and videos. It's a complete document management platform that provides version history, tagging and search, reusable templates, and advanced sharing options, all tightly integrated with other Nextcloud apps and external tools. Nextcloud Files offers many ways to organize and navigate your content. In the last release, for example, we added the ability to give public share links custom names and improve tagging, making it easier to manage tags and organize files visually with clear labels. This time around, we are improving search of files. So I have a very strong opinion here. Finding a file should take seconds. Pulling it into your task even less. We are ambitious here, aren't we? So how does it work? Just start typing a file name to filter the items in the folder. Nothing found, click search everywhere next to your results. Files is more than your documents. It's also a great place for media. You can organize your photos in albums, choose favorites, and add tags to the photos so you can easily find them later. With this release, you can create albums from search results. For example, find all the photos you took, let's say, in Berlin last week, or to upload them to your cloud from your phone and instantly add them to the album. Now, as we mentioned your mobile phone, let's talk about our desktop applications for Windows, Mac, and Linux, and our mobile apps for Android and iOS. Our mobile app for files let you take your files everywhere you go. You can access Nextcloud from your iPhone or Android device to share or edit documents, for example, but also back up your photos, search your cloud and local files, get Nextcloud notifications, and much more. Our mobile apps are designed to give you a great user experience, and we gave them some fresh updates with this release. The Android app inherited the new outline icons we talked about in the design section earlier. They do look great in the app too, don't they? It also has an improved drawer menu for navigation. We reordered and grouped the items so it's easier for you to reach your files, actions, and other things. Now for iOS, we have a much bigger thing we want to tell you. We are one of the first applications that adopt the beautiful new design language Apple has introduced with iOS 26. As you can see, our interface was entirely reworked, giving more room for the content of the application so you can focus on what really matters to you. The application uses sleek translucent interface elements that diffract light and dynamically respond to your movements. Its gorgeous animations bring a touch of joy, adding to a delightful user experience. You have to admit it, liquid glass looks great on privacy. To help you navigate, we added a top bar with shortcuts to important locations. On the bottom, with the plus button, you can quickly upload and create new items. And we also completely revised the menu for easier navigation. New media algorithm lets you use the pinch gesture to zoom in and out in your media library, similar to your camera roll. Viewing as many or as few of the beautiful photos you took was never so easy. We took full advantage of the new capabilities of iPadOS 26. Say you're cleaning up your cloud space, moving files around. A clean space is a beautiful space, right? So you can now open multiple windows of Nextcloud files and drag and drop files between them. Even when moving documents between different accounts or large numbers of files, you'll be able to use simple drag and drop operations. Besides our gorgeous new interface and the work under the hood, there are other improvements. For example, we did a lot of other interface polish for Android and our desktop client and added support for advanced sharing permissions across our mobile apps. So this time around in Nextcloud Files, we focused on easier search and navigation. For the mobile apps, we had the big rewrite on iOS and the new, much faster virtual files on macOS. And now with that, I would like to invite Fabrice on stage to walk us through the updates we have in Talk.
So let's talk about Nextcloud Talk, because in June we already shared some few big updates with you, and today there's even more to show. Nextcloud Talk is the first integrated platform that makes meetings, chat, and webinar effortless, while keeping you in full control. Now, the first thing you will notice in the new Nextcloud Talk is the amount of design put into this. We polished so many aspects of the interface. And this new cleaner interface will bring a splash more color, and we hope it will delight you. Now, let's show the new design on our dashboard. The dashboard shows you an overview of your upcoming meetings, your new messages, your mentions, but also the tasks you have scheduled for yourself. Now, we cleaned up the interface, we updated the buttons, and we added some nice colorful images to the sections on the bottom. But design is about more than how things look. Design is also how things work. So Nextcloud has 3 distinct core use cases. First, you have team messaging. Second, you have online meetings. And third, you have virtual education and webinars. Now let's talk how about we made your chat experience better. Now remember, Nextcloud Talk is designed to help teams collaborate throughout the day across different chat rooms. So all your chats, your groups, your team-wide channels, and project conversations are organized together in an easy-to-navigate fashion. You can chat and you can share your content, you can run polls, link documents, send voice messages, and you can share items easily. Now, Talk brings the content to you rather than making you switch to another application. So for example, I can share and view calendars right in the chat. I can link my Kanban boards, and I can browse or even edit the documents if I spot some issue. Now, our integrated AI assistant is there to save you time. It will translate your messages, it will convert audio to text, and it will summarize the chats you have missed. That's a really cool feature. Now, there are 3 more improvements to chat in this release that we want to talk about. First, I want to talk about some privacy and security related features. Then let's talk about notifications. And let's close it off how we can help you to deal with busy conversations. Let's start with security. So earlier in the presentation, Jos and Nina talked about Secure View in Nextcloud Hub. It blocks and shows watermarks to users. Now we brought Secure View to Talk, and you can enforce it on all shares with external people. Sometimes you leak data without even sharing, just because someone is looking over your shoulder. Now, if you mark a conversation as sensitive, message previews, both in the notifications and in the conversation list, stay hidden. That way, you can prevent accidental leaks during a screen share. Now, let's talk about those notifications, right? We are often flooded with information. Now, with this release, we introduced the busy status. You can use it when you want people to know that you're busy, but you don't want to block all notifications. It activates automatically when you are in a call or when you have an ongoing busy event in your calendar. The busy view really helps, but outside of your work hours or when you want to wind down, you can turn on the Do Not Disturb status. This will block all notifications. And this might be the other end of the extreme. So with this release, we are introducing another type of conversation, important conversations. This way, you can set a conversation as important and people can always reach you through that specific chat. Now with the new busy status and these important conversations, you gain much more control over what notifications you would like to receive. Now busy chats, sometimes they get really hard to follow. People discuss topics in parallel, things can get messy and sometimes even heated. And that brings us to the third and the biggest improvements to chat in this release. We are introducing threads to give you much more control over your conversations. Now, you can start a thread from the plus button in Talk. And threads are so cool because they keep the side discussions tied to the original message. So feedback and context don't get lost in the main flow, but they are clearly separated, even with a description. Now you can jump to a thread view and see messages others are adding to this specific thread. And it can even go multiple levels deep if needed. And you can follow and unfollow threads. And you can always find them in the threads overview on the top right within Nextcloud Talk. Now those were our improvements to chat. The new design, the new ways of handling notifications, and of course the introduction of threads. We bring all these improvements to our mobile and desktop clients, of course. And everybody with an iPhone will get an extra improvement because we introduced the familiar layout of those message bubbles. Now the second use case for Nextcloud Talk is video conferencing. This might be a quick think, a large company-wide meeting or a call with your external partner. Nextcloud Talk supports all these types of video calls. Now for this release, we cleaned up the call interface. Our familiar features, you can find them now at the bottom bar. You can share your screen, you can switch views, and you can start a recording. Now for those larger meetings, you can use all the moderation tools we offer to silence that specific user who's calling from a busy cafe. There's a lot more ways to interact from presenting and talking, right? You can discuss in the live chat, you can reply to messages, or you can react with emojis. And of course, you can participate in polls. Nextcloud Talk also supports voice over IP solutions with video, like those from Cisco, and it integrates with a number of enterprise meeting technologies. In those settings, you often need to let people dial in by phone, or you need to ask for their phone number and dial out to them. Today, we are bringing some new capabilities to our telephony integration in this release, with the introduction of Nextcloud Talk Phone. With Nextcloud Talk Phone, the administrator can give each employee their own phone extension number. You get a call and you can pick it up from Nextcloud Talk. Now, if you're on a vacation, Nextcloud Talk will automatically redirect the call to your assigned replacement. This is really a great step forward for our voice over IP integration. Now, those are all real improvements for video calls in this release. And I have three more changes to share before we move to our third major use case of Nextcloud Talk. Now, in those one-on-one calls, you can find a new button on top. If you click it, you can bring somebody else into the call. Easy and quick. We also brought more information about your chat partner in those one-on-one conversations, which you can see here on the right side in Nextcloud Talk. And last, we improved the handling of meeting conversations, adding an automatic cleanup. So unlike most other meeting tools, you don't automatically lose all your chat messages after a call. You now have a filter to see the conversations you created for upcoming meetings. And after the call, Talk can automatically remove it unless you like to keep the chat around for possible reference. Now, the final key use case for Nextcloud Talk is webinars, education and training. Now, these are calls with hundreds of participants. Nextcloud Talk made such large calls very easy thanks to our moderation features. It's super easy to invite participants by email. You can send them a guest link or you can just import participants via a spreadsheet. And after the call, you can export a list of those participants as well. Now, to make your webinars more engaging, you can draft your polls well in advance and you can save them for quick posting during the webinar. But you can also export them and you can reuse them across your webinars. A really cool feature. For some time now, we offer breakout rooms in Nextcloud Talk to split the participant into smaller groups for focused discussions. Now, in those discussions, you might need a visual way of organizing information. And here, Nextcloud Whiteboard really comes into play. But first, for this release, we did a major rewrite of the backend, which results in a much more responsive whiteboard. And we also worked on three major features for this release. First, we made it easier to create on whiteboards. And second, we made it easier to organize and find content on your whiteboard. And third, we made it easier to present using Nextcloud Whiteboard. Now, let's start with creating. To help you get up to speed faster, we made it possible for the whiteboard to generate diagrams using our Nextcloud Assistant. Just describe what you want and a nice new diagram will appear, ready for you to present or to work on further. Now, you created something amazing? Let's save it for later. Our new library allows you to create and manage your own assets. But it can also give you access to a library of existing objects, like those from Excalibur. Now, infrastructure and architecture symbols, stick figure illustrations, or UX and wireframe components, all you need for quick visual storytelling without having to draw things from scratch. Now, let's talk about organization. And that starts with a new feature. The option to enable grid view. This helps you to align shapes, drawings, and notes so everything looks clean and it stays in order. Another tool to keep things organized is the new search capability. Now, if you need a particular node or diagram in a big whiteboard, it can be looking for a needle in a haystack. Now, just hit Ctrl F and type what you're looking for and jump straight to it. You can even move through all the matching results. It's simple and very fast. So now it's time to present what you've created, be it the result of your own hard work or perhaps the fruits of a group effort. You can turn on the new presentation mode and other participants can easily follow along as you share your ideas and sketches. You can even record sessions and play them back later. We really look forward to the amazing whiteboards and presentations you will create. There's always more, of course. A lot of smaller improvements were made. For example, the ability to select your output device on Nextcloud Talk, or the support we offer for Siri shortcuts to automate talk actions on iOS. The new design in Talk helps you get tasks done faster and easier than ever before. Fine-tuned notifications and the new threads keep you organized instead of overloaded. And Nextcloud Talk Phone makes it easier than ever to connect to others. And for large-scale presentations and webinars, the whiteboard gives you a whole new creative outlet with its extensive shape library, its AI-generated diagrams, and the new presentation mode. We are confident that this release of Talk will delight many, and we are looking forward to your experiences and feedback. And now, I would like to invite Kim back on stage.
Yes, thank you, Fabrice. So now we are moving to Nextcloud Groupware, and let's begin with Mail. Nextcloud Mail is a modern, easy-to-use mail client that connects all of your mail accounts in one place. Beyond its brand new look, a clear and user-friendly interface, it's helping you with the organization of your mailbox. Tagging, searching, grouping, and also it comes with thoughtful tools that go further. They reduce friction and help you stay on top of your inbox so you don't get lost in the flood of communication. For example, with an extra inbox for important mail, follow-up reminders, quick calendar event creation, and more. In this release, we focused on improving the usability and performance, reducing the steps it takes to get things done for you. So now let's have a look at how these improvements will help you saving time. We all deal with lots of mail. In professional settings, average person receives over 100 emails per day and sends around 40 mails. So to save you a lot of clicks, we introduce configurable quick actions. They are very easy to create. You find them in your account settings. Create a new one, for example, triage and file, and choose actions like marking the mail as read, moving it into a special folder, or forwarding the email. Now, when you select one or more emails, you can execute these actions with just one click. Our second design addition is optional. Threads or no threads? Opinion split. Some of us like conversations compact in one thread, but some prefer to keep emails separate to make it easier to track them individually. You can now pick your preferred style. Another approach to handling many emails is filtering. They can automate things like moving emails in a subfolder based on the subject or author, for example. We made some improvements to management of the filters, but the creation is also a lot easier. When you're looking at a specific message, you can quickly create a filter to handle similar ones going forward. The third and last feature we introduce in Mail are text snippets. Some of us deal with a lot of repetitive responses in emails, like support engineers, for example. With snippets, you can save these often used responses and reuse them in new emails. With Nextcloud Calendar, you can manage your events with ease. When finding the right window for a meeting for 10 people feels like science, Nextcloud Calendar does all the research for you. And Nextcloud Calendar is nicely integrated with email, contacts, talk, tasks, deck, and other components in Nextcloud Hub. This time around, we improved the interface of the tools you use to plan your events. Let me now introduce you to some of them. To make it easier to see all event details in one place, we made a detailed view of events larger, taking up the entire window. We also made it easier to find that empty spot for a meeting with your colleagues in the busy view. I already selected some colleagues, and as you can see here, the new view looks much more like your regular calendar. Now just select when the meeting should take place. So now we are near the end of the calendar improvements, but I have one big one left. You have just seen how you can pick a time that fits the availability of your colleagues. But what if your meeting includes people from a different company? That often means mailing back and forth a lot. You think internally, then have to mail with the external people. It can be a pain. Nextcloud Hub 25 Autumn will have the solution for this, and that works this way. You create a meeting proposal and add the internal and external people. Now you will see the availability of your colleagues and can pick a time. But instead of picking one time, you can pick a few options. These options will be blocked in your calendar and that of your colleagues. The external people will get an email. There, they will be able to pick the time or times that work for them. If a suitable time is found, you will get a notification and can see the status. You just pick the time for the meeting and click Create. The blockers will disappear and everyone gets a final event invite. So if no suitable time is found, of course, you will have to modify the proposal. We hope this will really save you some time out of your busy schedules. So that's a lot of work on the interface thanks to our design team. And I personally was really waiting for that feature to help me find time for a meeting with external people in my calendar. There are other improvements too, like remembering your email editor settings when you leave the app, board, import and export, and other useful things. I look forward to hear what you think of the work with this release. Next up, we will talk about Nextcloud Office, and to do that, I will ask Michael on stage.
Wow, thanks so much, Kim. What a lot of amazing features we have there, as always, in our Nextcloud Hub release. So I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about Nextcloud Office and all of the wonderful new things that we've done in this release of Nextcloud Hub. So Nextcloud is a highly interoperable, wonderful piece of office productivity software that allows you to bring all of your documents into this great world of digitally sovereign Nextcloud in your browser. And we've been working together with Nextcloud for years and years. It's just a fantastic partnership at every level. We have a shared mission to make open source rock, and we collaborate at every level across the company. And as always, we're making this release announcement of some great new features together. One of the key things we're doing in this release, based on feedback from the community and customers, is improving ergonomics and usability very significantly, and of course performance too, which ties into that. Both of those serve to make you more productive, whether you're new to Nextcloud Office or you've already been a long-term user. One of the nice changes you'll see there will be immediately visible as a splash of color there in the interface. Before, Nextcloud Office followed this very strict blue-black-white design, which was very elegant. But it turns out that Nextcloud Office has a whole load of functionality. It's inevitably fairly complex. And so the color that we've added and the colored icons then help people navigate and recognize those icons much more easily, so more ergonomic. And we've added this highlight color that's unique for each of the applications to help you differentiate between which application you're in. And so you can see some of that here in the spreadsheets there. The color coding will be then in multiple places to make that easy. Another exciting thing there, besides the new design of the document editor, is another convenience. So if you're a mouse user, being able to select some text and then have those palette of tools that we can tell you frequently use. We've been doing lots of work on measuring what people use and the order they use it and so on, and getting lots of analytics on that. Of course, that's only our staff. That's not, there's no telemetry in the product unless you want to see what your staff are doing. We've been using that then to optimize the UI, and one of the things people love is just to select that text and then get those very close by palette with the mouse there. Now, of course, if you're a keyboard user, and you probably should be, we also have tooltips with now the keyboard accelerators popping up in there to try and help train people into perhaps a more ergonomic way of using Office productivity. In large documents, we've improved the navigation. So the navigator is now on the left-hand side and built in, and we've put search into that as well, which makes search just much more powerful, so you can very quickly see headings and where those items are in your document and flick through. And we've also improved the layout of the tab bar in lots of places with a series of new tabs across the whole suite, adding a whole load of functionality that was already there, but making it just easier to find and use. So obviously formulae there for the spreadsheet. You can see lots of easy to add and simple to use functionality. For presentations, you can see the new slideshow tab there, helping you to run and manage slideshows. Previously we had the functionality, but we sort of hid it down in different places. Now we have a design tab. So great tools there for managing slide properties. All of the rich functionality is still there, but just presented in a more ergonomic fashion. There's a new transition tab there to help you manage your transitions very easily with very few clicks, and configure those and the durations and timings and so on. We have a new layout tab in both spreadsheets and document editors. And there you can change document margins to get common layouts that are the ones that people use. They want to see more on their more of their text. They've written so much, they want to get it into their document. So very easy to do that. But other things, page size, orientation, adjusting other layout related elements and so on, just very, very easily. Now that's for the common functionality that's always there, but often this functionality, there's so much richness here that we want to make discoverable so people can find it. So if you have a sparkline, for example, that's a very powerful feature for visualizing data, but wouldn't it be nice if when you selected it, you then see the sparkline specific properties. So you see them in the tab, there's lots of those in the dialog, but then you can get a different tab that's just for sparklines or perhaps pictures. So, when you click on a picture, you find there's a whole load of functionality there specific to pictures just showing up, so you can, color correct it, improve the visualization of that. Same with shapes, of course, and many other elements that then have those contextual, discoverable tools there, just much closer to your clicks, as it were. Presentations, we've also improved to have nice new buttons to help you toggle off animations and flick through presentations very quickly there. So you can see those popping up when you move the mouse. And there are a whole load of other improvements in the interface. There's new rich color icons for context menus, helping navigate them, and responsive design, showing and hiding various elements of the UI, just to fit as much goodness on the screen as possible for you. And then that brings me to the second major area of attention, which is, faster is always better, as we often say, and making this thing smooth and beautiful is really, really important. We've done lots of improvements in this space. One of the things I particularly like is the viewport preloading. So, we're watching what you're doing and predicting what you'll do next so that we can be ready ahead of time and have the data there and just be much more responsive and fluid. So not only getting the data from the server, but also rendering it much quicker. In our test system with this high-resolution 4K screen, we were seeing things like 11 frames a second. I mean, that's not terrible, but it can be choppy. So we got that up to 60 frames a second. Any gamer will tell you that's a real win. Obviously, a whole other strand of work here is compatibility, and we spend lots of time improving interoperability in the product. So we have a lot of PDF 2.0 support, the very latest standard of PDF, faster XLS loading, new functions, new chart types, a better font embedding. Interestingly, PowerPoint and Internet Explorer 11 have been the only users of this extended open type feature. It's actually embedded in your PPTX files, and now Nextcloud Office can do it too. So we can suck your embedded fonts out and make sure your slides are rendered just perfectly. Sadly, an obsolete standard, but still in use in live Office suites. New metric compatible fonts also help here. And there are a whole load of other improvements in this release, making it easier to manage and lock down auto text, custom dictionaries, deploy all sorts of good things to all of your users so they get a really polished and beautiful, consistent, easy to use Office productivity experience built directly into their browser there in Nextcloud. And we also got a nice style sidebar and various other tools just to make it very easy to edit and make beautiful documents. And of course, lots of security updates and compliance upgrades, loads of other things under the hood. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. We love to get feedback, particularly, we love to get improvement feedback, but we also like positive feedback. So if you're loving it, let us know. So I think the work we've done here has made that collaboration between Nextcloud and Collabora even richer and made an even better integrated product. And I really look forward to hearing what you think about it. And with that, it is my great privilege to hand you over to the ever-amazing Jos Potvit.
Thank you so much, Michael. All right, so thanks for walking us through the Office Suite updates, Michael. We want to now move to the other parts of Nextcloud Office and start with a markdown editor, Nextcloud Text. So not all users are probably intimately familiar with what Nextcloud Text can do. So we added a suggestion bar for quick actions when you open an empty document. So you can link a file, you can upload a file, like an image, for example. You can also insert a table. And really cool, there's also the Smart Picker. So the Smart Picker can add all kinds of data content to your documents, like locations from a map, deck cards, AI-generated content, templates, all kinds of stuff. And well, when you have a document that has all these elements added, it can get a little complicated to move things around. So we also added dragging handles to objects to make it easier to reorganize your big documents with a lot of, tables and other components. We also introduced Smart Typography Autocorrect. I'll explain what it is. So sometimes you want to type like an arrow. So you do a dash and then the greater than sign. Or you want to write a quarter. And you can now just type 1/4. And then Nextcloud Text will turn it into the character. So this just makes it easy to make all these symbols without having to, dig them up on the search engine, which is what I used to do. One more feature we improved a bit. This is one for the real fans of Nextcloud Text. So we have keyboard shortcuts, so you can use your hands instead of having to use your mouse all the time, which, is for some people a lot faster, right? And you can use these shortcuts to create headers, to create lists, to-dos, to insert quotes, lots of other components. And so with this release, we also added the ability to control links. So if you added a link and you want to show a preview of the link, you want to open the link, you want to maybe, have a link to a document in there that should be editable right there in text. All of these things are now, controllable from shortcuts. So I think that's a nice extra, make Nextcloud Text a little bit more efficient for them. So all these improvements are also coming to the other apps that basically use text. So you have a number of applications, Deck, for example, and the Notes app that use text as a text editing component. So that means that all these things you can use there as well. And that's also true for collectives. Now, speaking of, there's a lot of other improvements in collectives as well. So collectives is a knowledge management tool. And one of the things that we started with is to, well, make it easier to get started with collective. So when you open a collective and you create a new one, you get a nice homepage by default that shows you some highlights. So you can see the team, the people who have access to it. You can see recent pages that were edited. You can have a custom landing page text and more. And as Jan already mentioned in the design presentation, there were a lot of UI improvements to this page in the new version. Now, another thing that we worked on were the templates. So when you create a new collective page, you can use a template just to get more consistent pages. And now these templates can be unique for each collective. So when you create a new page, you get to choose from a template, and then you can save, edit, and manage the templates from the template menu. And yeah, then you get nice, more consistent, structured documentation this way. So then we worked on tags. So tags make it easier to, well, find pages and to organize them, especially if you have a lot of documentation. And the new tags are very customizable. You can give them a color as well, and you can add any combination to your page. So that can really help make this large documentation set more findable and, yeah, colorful as well, which I think is nice. Now, final change in collectives is it's now easier to work with page versions to track back all the changes that you did. Similar to Nextcloud Files, you can, for example, compare versions, you can label versions, give them a name, you can download them, restore them, and even delete them. Now, there were many other improvements done in collectives, like the share links, for example. They're now shorter and more, well, human readable. In the Nextcloud Tables app, that's the app that you use for, well, storing data and tables. It now comes with inline editing, which a lot of users have asked for. So there you go, good news. We also added new column layout options, support for integration with activities. So that means that if you make a change to a table, you can make sure that this is visible in the activity feed, so you can follow what other people are doing with the tables you shared with them. And yeah, many other improvements. So tables is actually part of, well, our workflow automation, Nextcloud Flow. And well, we're going to talk about that next. So for that, I want to ask Nina to come to the stage. So yeah, Nina, welcome back on stage.
Thank you, Jas.
So, well, let's talk then about these animation features in Nextcloud Hub, collectively known as Nextcloud Flow.
Exactly, yes. We developed Nextcloud Flow because the public sector requires open source solutions for process automation. Flow can automate activities using data from Nextcloud app as well as external sources.
Yeah, so for this release, our goal was to expand the functionality and shift more tasks from administrators to non-administrators. This way, it becomes easier to manage, a complex Nextcloud instance and have a lot of efficiency out of all these automations. Now, the Tables app that I was just talking about is an important part of this workflow automation.
It acts as a structured database connecting workflows, rules, and external services. With Flow, actions can be triggered when a new row is added, like sending or creating a task or sending an email. You can save table views as mini applications, easy to reach from the top navigation.
Yeah. Now, every user can configure some basic Flow actions in the Flow app. So, for example, they can trigger a chat message when, file is uploaded in a specific folder.
Another common flow at work is getting approvals, maybe for travel support or on the final quote for a customer. The approval app makes this easy to set up.
Yeah, so we got feedback from users, and well, based on that, we made it possible now to undo an approval that was already given. And we also made it possible for the administrator to delegate the approval workflow management to individuals or to a group of management, for example.
The more advanced workflow capabilities in Nextcloud Flow are provided by our partner, Windmill Labs.
Yeah, so in the Windmill interface, you build processes by connecting either pieces of Nextcloud or external applications or both.
For example, you can build a flow that responds to an incoming email, moves its attachment into a folder, and alerts people in the chat room.
Yeah, so for this release, we added new capabilities. So things like handling users, detecting file tags, managing files and folders, locating files and folders, starting a flow in a calendar event, and more. So as an example, you can now tag a file as meeting agenda, and then Flow can then take the file, store it in a specific folder, share the content into a chat, and then creating a calendar event for the next meeting. So Flow is using the Open Collaboration Services API. This is a standard that allows applications to interact with Nextcloud.
It exposes the building blocks of Nextcloud's functionality in a standardized, script-friendly way, so you can do various actions in Nextcloud from the outside, like storing notes in Nextcloud from a third-party note-taking app, or sending a message in a specified talk room from a website.
Yeah, so we will get back to the API in the developer section later on. So, summarizing quick the Flow part. So with this release, we improved the approval app, we made some updates to tables, and many new advanced flows were added that help you automate even more activities.
Flow can save you a lot of work, but there's another new technology that is all about helping you save time and be more efficient. Yes, take it away.
That will be the next big thing in technology.
Artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
We have worked on a number of AI features over the past few years. Our guiding principle here is that it should make life easier and save you time.
But of course, while protecting your privacy and security of your data.
Yes, indeed, there are many different challenges with AI. As we're not like any other company, we like to approach AI a little bit differently. We rate our AI integrations to help you decide which AI features are the right ones for you.
Yeah, so the rating shows if an AI solution can be run on premises, if the source code behind it is open, and if the training data is open source.
If you ask us, we of course suggest using the models with the green rating. This time we added support for the fully open, green-rated large language model ALMO.
So the Nextcloud Assistant is how we integrated AI in Nextcloud. It's the industry's first AI assistant built into a collaboration platform that can be hosted completely on your own server. Nextcloud Assistant makes our AI features easily available from anywhere in Nextcloud Hub.
For example, it suggests replies to emails and can summarize long email discussions or meetings and chats in Talk. It can also translate text, generate images, and more.
Yeah, it has agents that can perform actions for you, like creating a calendar invite, sending an email, or sending a chat message.
In this release, we gave the Nextcloud Assistant access to mail as well as the ability to find files. This means that, first of all, you can ask questions about your emails. For example, you could ask, what were the to-dos related to the Nextcloud conference that we discussed via email? And because it can retrieve files, you can ask it, find me the Excel sheet with marketing data from 2025, and it will draw up the specific document.
Yeah, so next we improved the integration with other Nextcloud Hub apps. Now, I mentioned already before, there are already many integrations that exist. For example, you can summarize and generate content in Nextcloud Text.
Or get summaries for your emails in the mailbox. And mails can recommend replies, detect when you need to follow up on a message, and much more.
Now, let's have a look at what is new.
Gladly, yes. So then I will start with my personal favorite. You could already use the Smart Picker in various apps to quickly generate text and images with the Nextcloud Assistant. And now you can also generate stickers to send reactions in your talk chats, for example. And of course, that works in other places too. Emails, deck, card comments, you name it.
Yeah, of course, I knew you would pick that one.
Yeah, obviously. But we already had some nice integrations in Talk, like creating a transcript for a call. But you asked us for the transcript to be live during the call. And that's what we introduce now, live transcription, so that you can see what people say in text.
Nice, subtitles. So I can catch webinars or participate in calls without sound, even without my headphones.
Yes, exactly. That's very handy also when you are in a noisy environment, like in a cafe or something.
Yeah, and it works even in group calls where you can see who is saying what.
Exactly, yeah. In Nextcloud Files, we integrated the ability to generate an image from the plus menu. Just type a prompt, hit generate, and an assistant will then drop an image in the current folder.
Yeah, really cool. So there's also a Nextcloud Assistant submenu in the Files context menu. So it can do several things, depends on the file type, Office files, audio files, etc. So on the document, you can ask for a summary of the document, for example, and then you can see it in the Assistant. You can also generate audio out of a document, so it's basically reading the document then for you.
So then you mentioned audio files. Can I get a transcript of that too?
Absolutely, yeah. So you can find an option for transcripts in the menu of an audio file.
Wonderful. Now, another big one. The assistant cannot just read documents or create plain text. With this release, we gave it the ability to produce documents. Here you can see, for example, that you ask for it for a specific spreadsheet and it produces it. This also works with a slide. Give it a description of the presentation you want to do, and the assistant will produce it to help you get started.
Yeah, I believe this can really save a lot of work to kickstart the creation of a variety of documents.
Exactly, especially when you're short of time. Yeah.
So imagine you finished the project meeting, you took some rough notes, and you like to send a nice structured meeting overview to everybody who joined the meeting. Now you put your notes into the assistant, you say, hey, create a Word document or a PDF out of this, with a properly structured meeting, and the assistant will do that for you.
Super handy, yeah. I really like that feature too. That was a rather humble example, though. Now let's take it one notch further. So, how about you ask it to find the support tickets that came in week, say, 37 in your email inbox and create a spreadsheet out of that? Then share the spreadsheet in the support chat room.
Yeah, exactly. So the assistant can read mail, it can create documents, it can send chat messages, combine it in one command, and it can do all of that. That's impressive, right?
That's super impressive. Yes, I like it. So, that was the agent feature we just peeked into. All the features we just covered are accessible by AI agents.
Yeah, so for example, in the video here, you're booking a work trip. You can ask the assistant, like, hey, look, if my manager already in chat, send an approval for the trip. Then you ask it to find the hotel in Soho, show a bike route from the Penn station to the hotel, and it does it.
Yeah, that's very neat, really. It's such a nice example. In the past half year, we have been working on expanding all those abilities of agents, making Nextcloud Assistant even more useful for you as a personal assistant. And if you get tired from always typing these long queries for the assistant, just use your voice. We made it possible now to talk to it, and it will respond with a voice as well.
Yeah, that makes the interaction a lot more natural.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, so there's one more powerful feature I want to talk about here, and that's MCP support. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's a protocol for AI agents to talk to each other. So let's explain this with an example. So some people run Home Assistant. That's a tool to control your home automation, turning on the lights when somebody comes in and setting the temperature automatically, for example. And so this has recently introduced AI agents as a feature, and it supports the MCP protocol. So with MCP, the Home Assistant can talk to the Nextcloud Assistant and vice versa.
So, does that mean that I can ask Home Assistant to check with Nextcloud if I got an angry email from you and then turn on all the lights red in my home? Nice.
That would be possible. And you can then ask the Nextcloud Assistant if somebody was at the door with a big bouquet of flowers to apologize.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice too. And MCP is supported by many other AI platforms as well. So you would be able to ask, for example, Perplexity or say ChatGPT to look at files from your Nextcloud server or put a message in a chat room and talk. And it works the other direction as well. You can tell the Nextcloud Assistant to ask ChatGPT for something.
Exactly. So, and of course, all of that also depends on if you've connected to the service. Because, you'd rather not have your data leak to ChatGPT or Perplexity. So this all has to be configured.
No, yeah, you have to be a little bit careful with that. So many improvements, quite impressive, right? But also know AI can cause quite a heavy load on the server. So with all those advanced features, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you need, of course, a lot of resources to run these AI capabilities. We did a lot of background work, though, to improve the performance of the assistant, getting quicker responses. We also added new models that you can choose from. Some of these are a bit faster. We expanded the API as well, so you can really customize it for your own setup.
And we did many other changes and improvements, like the addition of support for IBM Watson X. We hope to hear a lot of your feedback and all the improvements we did to the assistants in the coming months and weeks. So great. With this, I'd like to invite Fabrice to join me back to the stage. Thank you, Jos.
Thanks, Jos. And hello again, Nina.
Hello again, Fabrice. And now we've covered the many improvements that our users would see. We'd like to turn our attention now to the people who keep the Nextcloud server running.
Yeah, let's talk about the amazing things they are doing and how we can help.
Many of you are probably familiar with this view. After setting up Nextcloud, we do our best to guide you towards the configuration and installation options that need adjusting.
Yeah. So here you get those tips for performance and security improvements, right? So new in this release are checks on the push notification setup and talk, a check for mail, and a check for the assistant setup.
For large-scale enterprise setups at our customers, we introduce adaptive setup checks in Nextcloud Guard that can recommend config and hardware values for different sized Nextcloud instances.
Next, when you have configured these basics, right, it's time to get the most out of Nextcloud. And our second improvement here is the new quick presets. And this will get you kickstarted for sure.
Maybe you run Nextcloud at home or for a local club. Or maybe you administer a Nextcloud server for hundreds of thousands of students. Each of these has its own needs. So after installing Nextcloud, you need to make some choices, right?
Life is all about choices. So for example, for a private user, it's cool that you can rename share links. But as a big company, you would not want your public links to be predictable.
Not at all. That wouldn't be useful. On the other hand, as a company, you might want to have a shared address book so all your employees can look up contact details of your colleagues. That, on the other hand, isn't really appropriate for a university, of course.
Nope. So each home user and organization has a lot of choices to make. And we make this easier with the introduction of quick presets with this new release.
Yeah, you select what best describes your use case and the number of default settings are being applied. So, for example, these are the settings for a private user. Now, let's switch to a large enterprise to see the difference.
Yeah. So as you can see, the quick presets allows you to switch between those configuration presets, which from a small to a big setup according to your requirements.
Now, let's talk about the many tools Nextcloud offers you to ensure smooth operations.
Now you're up and running, but operating a server for tens of thousands of users is not always easy.
Administrators are creative, always looking to automate things or find ways to help the users with their problems. We want to give you the tools to do that, so with this release, we introduce a lot of new commands.
We shared it, so we won't name them all, but a few simple highlights are ways to get more information on files, including encryption information. And you can now also modify settings in the user profile from the command line. And the configuration settings can be modified with JSON, right? Which makes it easy to set arrays or complex values in one go.
That's great, Fabrice. Earlier, we talked about federation. It makes sharing across servers super easy, right?
Yeah, because if you want to work on a project with somebody from another organization, say between federal states or a partner company, you can use guest accounts. And these add some security and convenience over public links. So the guest can always use clients and get notifications, for example.
Yeah, but if that other federal state or company has their own Nextcloud, there is no need for guest accounts anymore. You can simply share directly to users on that server, thanks to federation.
Right, yeah, so here you just enter a federated cloud ID in a share dialog in Files, or you invite them to a chat and talk. And for the recipient, it feels like working on their own Nextcloud.
As administrators can control federation, you can trust the identity of federated participants much more than with public links.
Right, but as you can imagine, federation is widely used in the scientific field, with many institutes enabling their researchers to collaborate through a huge federated network of universities and research organizations.
For federal governments, it enables secure and trusted collaboration across departments and even between organizations.
Now, for this release, we updated our support for the federation standard OpenCloud Mesh.
For federation with larger servers with tens of thousands of accounts, we optimize the performance of sharing address books so you can enjoy easy search and auto-completion of usernames.
Well, in the feature space, we also introduced read-only calendar federation, meaning you can now subscribe to the calendar of somebody on a different server.
Last but not least, we have a feature for those of you who are running really large Nextcloud instances or have very specific compliance needs where different data should be kept local in different jurisdictions. These needs are addressed by Global Scale, used by our large customers to scale Nextcloud to tens of millions of users.
Right, for this release, we added OpenID Connect authentication support, made username display more consistent, and made internal links work for global scale setups.
So we give you tips and even quick configuration presets to get you up and running in no time. And with this release, automating and configuring Nextcloud from the command line is easier than ever before.
And we did even more to ensure smooth operation.
Exactly, we did. You can choose now to automatically rename the files with Windows incompatible file names from the web interface and rename or disable the system address book.
So I think that system administrators will really appreciate this release.
Now, let's get even more technical and talk about what we did for developers.
Now, we all know Nextcloud is an application platform. You have the core apps like Talk, Files, and Calendar. But beyond that, our fantastic developer community builds those amazing apps. And let's have a quick look at what's out there.
First, we have all these apps that add new functionalities to Nextcloud.
Yeah, some examples here are the Forms app, where curious people can create and send out surveys. And my favorite, the Analytics apps, if you want to keep track of your data. Now, and the News app is, of course, absolutely cool if you want to keep updated what's going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. These are just a few examples of apps of our amazing community. But there are just too many to name them all, so just go check them out yourself.
Second, we have apps that integrate Nextcloud with third-party applications. These include open source apps such as Mattermost, Moodle and Big Blue Button, as well as web services like Collabora, WebEx Notion, Miro, and many, many more.
We want to call out the amazing integrations we have with Axbecky and Open Project. Integrations, you've seen them present in previous release videos. They're so advanced that you could argue they act as core parts of Nextcloud, just like Collabora is deeply integrated as Nextcloud Office.
So true. Now for this release, we updated our integration apps that connect to Discourse, Jira, GitHub, and GitLab. Now Discourse, GitHub, and Jira improved their notification support. For example, Jira lets you filter project notification and get alerts. Authentication was also improved.
We also updated the sharing link functionality for social media apps for Mastodon, WhatsApp, and Blue Sky.
All right, a new integration is that with Overleaf, a very popular collaborative writing platform built on the LaTeX typesetting system. It's primarily used by scientists and researchers. Now you can open LaTeX documents directly from Nextcloud Files into Overleaf.
Last but not least, we also improved our Google integration, making it now easier to connect to paid accounts.
So we know that transition to open source and digitally sovereign technologies takes time and effort, right? The tech world is dominated by monopolies like that of Microsoft.
Indeed it is, yeah.
Now, the good news is that together with Nextcloud partners like Sendent, we maintain a series of integrations with their closed ecosystem.
These bring, for example, Active Directory, SharePoint, and Windows network drives into Nextcloud. On the desktop application side, we integrate Nextcloud with Outlook, Exchange, and Teams. With the Sendent Outlook app, you can now easily and securely share Nextcloud files within Outlook, but now we have further improved this. It's Talk integration. This allows you to choose existing talk rooms when booking a meeting. Email invitations will also include telephone dial-in details for the participants if you use SIP integration, of course. And work is happening on bringing all these integration features also to the mobile Outlook app.
All right, so on the Teams integration side, there's now improved preview support in the File Explorer. And there's a big one here, Nina, because the integration can now map channels and teams into Nextcloud, associating them with Nextcloud Teams and groups.
Now, all those apps and integration use our internal and external APIs. Let's talk about what is new for developers. There are always many interesting developments happening in and around Nextcloud. I would like to highlight a few areas where Nextcloud is getting a technical facelift to take advantage of all the new cool technologies. Let's start with some major framework upgrades. These are the components developers use to build parts of Nextcloud. For example, Android migrated to Glide 4.
All right, so I presume that comes after Glide 3?
Yes, you're right about that, but this is all I know about Glide 3 and 4 too. But it might be quite visible though. For iOS, for example, I know that the latest version supports the new design that Apple introduced in version 26 of iOS, as we showed earlier in the presentation.
Right, and the team is working on moving the web interface to Vue 3.
Yeah, much of that is done already. We have been preparing this for a long time. Our ecosystem is big and we promise long backward compatibility, so we wanted this to be a smooth migration.
And it is. If you kept your app up to date with the latest version of our libraries, update to Vue 3 would be completely transparent. We prepared everything already on Vue 2, and you can, at your leisure, start to take advantage of all the Vue 3 features.
That's very cool. Really good. The introduction of fragments, teleport, and suspense in View 3 allows developers to create a more dynamic and flexible application.
Right. So where need developers need to go when they want to get started?
Just go to nextcloud.com/developer, and which has links to our resources like tutorials or documentation. But you can also go and ask in our forums. There have been some View 3 migration discussions going on lately. So check out help.nextcloud.com.
But one last thing we want to touch on are WebSockets, as this also impact the user and servers in some ways.
What do you mean sockets? Like power sockets?
No, not really. So there are for updating the interface. Think of when you're editing a document with somebody else at the same time, or a new calendar item comes in. The web interface or an app connected to Nextcloud can occasionally check if there are changes, but this puts a constant load on the server. Now WebSockets turn this around. The UI or app will get notified by a push notification from the server. This is both faster and reduces server load.
So where are those sockets then?
In 2 places now. We have been using them since we introduced our high-performance backend for files some years ago. This keeps the connection open to client to instantly deliver notification. And it's now also used by Nextcloud Text, for example, for real-time document editing with others. It's a small binary written in Rust that maintains a lot of connections, while the Nextcloud server communicates through Redis when there's a notification to send.
We've seen that at our larger customers, the load on the server from backend polling would be reduced by 90% or more after the high-performance backend was deployed. And you get faster syncing too, as a client would instantly know when files were modified on the server.
That's a massive reduction. So exactly. But for this release, we had a different challenge to tackle.
Exactly, yeah, we had.
So as you have heard us talk about in previous releases, we made it possible to write Nextcloud apps in any language. That architecture is designed around microservices, and we use Docker to deploy those apps. We distribute the load on your service, and it also helps with security. Now for this release, our team built a WebSockets component that allows apps, the server and the client to communicate with each other. Rather than just handling the notifications, this new WebSockets mechanism handles all the communication between the backend and the frontend.
This means more responsive apps. No load caused by the clients, just check in with the server if something has changed. So now you can build high-performance, responsive, and fully event-driven apps for Nextcloud. These apps use our Open Collaboration Services API. This is fully documented using the OpenAPI standard, and we provide long stability windows so apps will keep working as Nextcloud evolves.
So exploring the API is super simple with our OCS viewer. You can look for the function you want to execute, then test it out and grab the code to implement it in your app. It's easy as pie.
As with every release, there have been a lot of updates to our APIs, but we wanted to highlight a few in particular. Nextcloud can be an identity provider for other services and integrations.
Yeah, first, the eagle-eyed among us might have seen it already on a previous slide. Nextcloud can now act as an identity provider. That means you can let users log into your app with their Nextcloud credentials, and it's already being used by Open Project, which makes integrating a whole lot easier.
Yeah, so smooth. And secondly, we introduced an API so app developers can integrate the Assistant chat UI into their apps.
So next, we introduced OpenAPI to Collectives, allowing you to interface with it through a standardized interface. We also developed APIs to list accounts and ADSs of users, and the Calendar API now allows other apps to retrieve availability of attendees.
That concludes our section for developers. Of course, there was a lot more, but wouldn't it be more fun to find it out for yourselves? Beginner or expert, you can get started now at nextcloud.com/developer.
So there you can also find our newsletter for developers. And these were some of the highlights for developers in this release. We are really looking forward to all the apps and improvements you will build. We can't wait. And now, I would like to invite Jos back to the stage to walk us through the next section.
Thank you, Fab. Yeah, that will be the last section. So thanks for all the technical stuff. Now, of course, the good news is that you as a user don't need to know all that stuff just to get started with Nextcloud. It's very important to us that we make it as easy as possible to take your first steps towards digital sovereignty. And as you recall, many of the improvements in this release are aimed at exactly that, making it easy for you to use Nextcloud. So let's talk about how you can regain control over your data with Nextcloud Hub. Now, broadly, I would say to get your own Nextcloud, there are one of two ways that you can go. First, you can go for a private cloud. And second, you can go for a managed service. Now, private cloud, that's of course very core to Nextcloud. It's a technology to build your own collaboration platform running in a cloud. And private means dedicated to you. There's still a lot of options here. First, it can be a virtual private cloud. That means you're at a cloud provider and they create a virtual cloud for you. So you are actually running on shared hardware, and the separation of that is done in software by the provider. And you have to manage your own Nextcloud that is running there. Now, if you don't like sharing, I get it. At a hosting company, you can also get a dedicated private cloud, a hosted private cloud, I usually call it. And that means that the hardware is dedicated just to you. Of course, you're still in somebody else's data center. If you don't like that either, well, there's still the option to run Nextcloud on-premises. That means it's in your own data center, or for a private user, as I do, I turned my old desktop into a server in my living room, and well, that's where my Nextcloud is running. So, of course, as a private user or as a business, if you run it this way, you still have to maintain it yourself. And to make that as easy as possible, both for home and business users, we have our all-in-one. So for smaller installations, it's a cloud-ready Docker container. You deploy it, and it takes care of basically everything else. It will manage a bunch of other containers. It makes sure they get updated. It handles backups. Everything is basically taken care of. So I use this myself. It's really super easy. And to get started, scan the QR code or visit our website, of course. And there you can begin with the all-in-one Docker container. Now, it's less work than the zip file or the PHP files of the past. But if you are at a provider where you have to use or are limited to using only PHP files, this is of course still available. And next to that, our community is also building like other technologies, like for example, Snap for Ubuntu system is available as well. Now, for large-scale installations, we have what we call our enterprise all-in-one. That's a cloud-native solution designed for Kubernetes clusters and such like in-house cloud technologies. Now, if you think that all of that sounds like a lot of work, what you were looking for is a managed Nextcloud. And there's choice there too. So let's go over the options here. Now, first, as a business, you want your private cloud, and it can be virtual, hosted, or in your own data center, as I said. But you can get help then with the deployment and maintenance. So that's of course possible. We have excellent partners that can help you keep your system running smoothly wherever you host it. Just your choice, and they manage it for you. Now, of course, you can get an all-in-one option here as well. So where you have hosting and management in one. So we have a number of hosted partners which offer this both for business and for private users. So you just go there, you say, hey, I want a Nextcloud, and they can set it up for you. If you have just very basic use, like a private user or a small business for 20, 30 users, you can get it probably together in just a click, give credit card information, and bang, you're up and running. If you're in need for a more custom setup for maybe 10,000 users that has specific compliance requirements and certain apps need to be integrated, that's of course also possible. Then you need to go to one of our bigger partners, and they can give you the complete custom, fully managed hosted cloud. Now, for home users, we have one more option, and this is really the quickest way to get your own Nextcloud account at a Nextcloud server. This is called Simple Sign Up. So you go to nextcloud.com/signup, you enter your email address, you give a password, and you're logged in. That's really how easy it is. It's a free account at one of our participating hosting partners. We pick a hosting partner based on your location, and you're up and running in no time with an unlimited free account. You can then connect it to your phone. You can even sign up on your phone. So you can go to nextcloud.com, find one of our clients, also go to the iOS or the Android App Store, find one of our clients, download it, and choose sign up, and their email address, password, and you're up and running as well. So it's super easy to get started with this. Now, for businesses and for people who want a hosted instance, or a managed instance. As I said, we have partnered with some leading sovereign cloud providers who share our vision for digital sovereignty and can give you a really good experience. They really are prepared to support you in your journey to a secure, easy to use and productive digital workplace. So let's hear from them directly.
I'm pretty happy about our partnership with Nextcloud, because now we are really building a sovereign solution, not just in the cloud in the backends, but also on a desktop. For people to really use a sovereign solution in their day-to-day life, and it's not just in the industry or users out there, but it's also in public sector. And we guarantee this because we are a European company. We are a German company, by the way, by law, and so we adhere to all the GDPR rules. We adhere to everything that needs to be taken care of: data protection, data sovereignty, data security. There's no better solution than being with us as a really truly European company. And the same thing is for Nextcloud, and they're using open source, and now we're building together a sovereign desktop environment. And I think that's one of the first one, which is really acceptable by users. There's a lot of different open source software around, but putting it all together, making it to a real to a system which is really comparable to Microsoft 365, for example. That's something Nextcloud is really pushing, and we are helping in the backend.
Ja, ich bin nunmehr seit über 20 Jahren bei Bechtle und dort aktuell in dem Job des Bereichsvorstandes für Public Sector in Europa. Public Sector hat zwischenzeitlich einen Anteil von etwa 40% unseres Umsatzes in der Unternehmensgruppe und ist ein bedeutender Faktor. Die digitale Souveränität ist zu einem der zentralen Themen geworden. Ich denke, wir können es jeden Tag in der Zeitung lesen und haben viele, viele Berichte darüber. Es geht für alle darum, sowohl Industrie als auch Public Sector. Und dabei geht es um den Schutz sensibler Daten, sondern auch um die Fähigkeit, Technologieunabhängigkeit zu erlangen. Und für uns Bechtle bedeutet digitale Souveränität Wahlfreiheit, Robustheit und Resilienz auf Basis einer belastbaren Gesamtarchitektur. Alternative zu haben ist schon mal eine gute Voraussetzung. Und ich glaube, dass sowohl on-prem als auch in der Cloud wir genügend Kunden haben, die beweisen, dass diese hybride Struktur ein Idealbild ist für die öffentlichen Auftraggeber, aber auch für die Industriekunden. Ja, ich fange hinten an. Bechtle ist für das Warum und das Was verantwortlich und Nextcloud für die Frage des Wies. Und durch diese Wahlfreiheit unterstützt auch Bechtle seine Kunden dabei, die Digitalstrategie passgenau entsprechend umsetzen zu können. Ja, erstmal, es macht uns beiden super viel Spaß und Nextcloud und Bechtle ermöglicht den Kunden als strategischer Partner eine digital souveräne, DSGVO-konforme IT-Infrastruktur und maßgeschneidertes Open-Source-Lösungsansatz, ein Open-Source-Lösungsstack. Und ich denke, das generiert Effizienz und Unabhängigkeit.
Now, don't worry, you will not be the first on this journey. Thousands of companies, as well as millions of individuals like you, have already gone before and moved to Nextcloud. So, this is a road well traveled, so to say. Now, that was a full overview of Nextcloud Hub 25 Autumn. The why was presented by Frank. All the features, of course, we went over with the team. And now you know how to get started for yourself. So let's try to do a very quick summary. As I discussed at the start, using a single integrated platform comes with serious usability, security and maintenance benefits. With this release, we made it easier than ever to get started, thanks to a much improved design, performance, and of course we introduced really a lot of different features. There are just too many to go over again. So, if you want to read all the details, take your time. You can check out our release blog. You can scan the QR code or you visit nextcloud.com/news. Which makes it super easy to just take your time and read through a full list. Now, last but not least, I want to say a big thank you to our entire community. You have built the apps, you have built the features, translated, tested and helped us out in so many ways. Without you, there will be no Nextcloud Hub, no Nextcloud even. So yeah, Nextcloud is you. Thanks for making this possible. So now a thank you to all you fantastic people for staying with us completely to the end of this presentation. We really want to hear what you think. So please comment under YouTube, other social media, and of course come say hi to us at one of the many events we're at, conferences, trade shows, or even join us at our Enterprise Day or at our conference community. Hey, thank you very much and have a nice evening.